I'm going to call the meeting back to order to reconvene in open session. Welcome everyone to the regular board meeting for the School District of Amery. We will start out tonight with the Spotlight on Education, which is solo ensemble with Ms. Laura Badman.
You know what they say, go big or go home, and so we're big. Yeah, they're going to horseshoe around here. There's 13 of them, so I don't know if you guys want to stand in this.
We'll go stand in the back.
If you want to walk, they're kind of a presentation of sorts, so you might want to.
They've steered clear, I'm sure.
They're good. I've seen this on YouTube. I love it.
Yeah, love it. Should I talk in here?
Yes.
Okay, so good evening. I'm just going to preface a little bit what you're going to see here. We've had kind of a great tradition of a guys ensemble that has been growing and growing, and they've been very successful. And this year it honestly grew to capacity, which means that the most I can take is a group of 15 of whatever sorts for a small ensemble at Solo Ensemble Contest, which was last Tuesday, and we had 15. There's a couple missing tonight because they had commitments that they couldn't be here. But still there are 13 of them, so there are a lot. These guys were, the last time I saw them on Monday, they were good. They were about 80% ready, but that was all we had time for. So we were going to go on Tuesday. Well, they didn't sing until about 11:30 on that day. And they honestly, I heard from many sources, the girls, yeah, those guys are listening to their part in the gym. And they were the recording that I had sent them. And they had dazzled it up. And anyway, they showed up in big fashion. They went in there, and they were lucky enough they had a lady judge. That always works in their favor. And so, anyway, they went in there. They received a perfect score, a state rating, and then each judge for the entire day from 8 to 4 has the option of awarding a Best in Sight, and these guys received the Best in Sight award, too. So they really did an awesome job. So I had no choice but to bring them tonight. And so here they are. They are the guys ensemble. I'll let them introduce themselves. Why don't you say your first and last name, just because some people who have teachers or whatever have had you before may have forgotten who you are, and then go, oh, yeah. So say your first and last name, and then we will sing for you.
All right, I'm Zach Dela Cruz.
Zach Sopchak.
Jack Alton.
Keaton Dawson. Jackson Henningsgaard. Brett Forrest.
Aramis Espinoza.
Canyon Schwartz.
Gus Wentz. Kenny Lepak.
Dylan Thompson.
Matt Newton.
And they are going to be singing 5'2", Eyes of Blue. Okay, ready, guys? Ham it up.
5'2", eyes of blue, but oh what those 5 feet could do. Has anybody seen my gal? Has anybody seen her? Turn up those fancy clothes, never had no other ones. Has anybody seen my gal? Anybody seen my gal? If you run into a 5'2", all covered with fur, diamond rings and all those things, no, she's not what you're looking for. She's mine. 5'2" with eyes of blue, strolling down the avenue. Has anybody seen my gal? Wackadoo, wackadoo, dooby doo, dooby doo. Wackadoo, 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 wackadoo. 5'2" with eyes of blue. Has anybody seen wackadoo, wackadoo. Although the do turned up nose, dressed in snazzy clothes, she never had no other bones. Has anybody seen my gal, my gal? If you run into a 5'2", all covered over with fur, flashing diamond rings and all those things, just look around. You haven't found my 5'2", eyes of blue, strolling down the avenue. Has anybody seen her? Has anybody seen her? Has anybody seen my gal?
I'm not saying best in sight in any way at all. Say, get it out of here. Thank you. Move to adjourn after that.
It's pretty hard to follow.
I know.
Exactly. This will all be an honor now.
So fun. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda items.
And I had those, so I'll make a motion to accept those.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed? All right, the vouchers will be accepted. Is anyone signed up for community comments? Okay. Next on the agenda are the administrative department reports.
Okay, I'll speak to the high school. We've got a lot of events coming up here in the months of April and May, just like every other year. We've got prom on the 27th, which is next Saturday over at the Enchanted Barn in the Hillsdale area. The Fine Arts Festival is on Monday the 13th, and that is music and art. The awards night for seniors is on the 15th. Senior trips on the 22nd. And last day for the seniors is 24th. And lastly, graduation is on the 2nd of June. And I'm not going to say when the last day of school is for obvious reasons. Tom?
All right. Got a lot going on at the middle school. We're right in the middle of forward testing, as is Orly in her building. And I know Sean at the high school, they just finished ACT, and I think you're done with ACT Aspire.
We have one more round on ACT Aspire, then we have AP tests.
And then AP tests, and we've done the DLM, which is the Dynamic Learning Maps, which is for select kids. Forward test, we're in our second week, and it's quite a bit of testing, but we're excited to see how that goes, and I'll let Orr report on hers in a little bit. We also have a lot coming up on next Tuesday. We have our Fine Arts concert and art show on the 23rd, and we're real excited about that. And again, that will be our choirs and our bands and an art show as well. Tomorrow we have a 6th grade author visit, so we're excited for that. And the 6th grade has Dr. Durbin? Bill Durbin's coming in, and he's been here the last several years and does a really neat experience on being an author and getting a chance with breakout sessions with kids, some large group presentations, some small breakout things for kids, so we're excited for that. Spring Fling Week is coming up next week, and so we have a lot going on, and that's kind of our big annual end of toward middle, spring is here, hopefully, and kids can have a lot of fun and interactive activities. Destination Imagination just competed on Saturday at State, and we were real excited. And the first time they've had State over in Green Bay, and I heard that Green Bay did a really nice job. We had teams from all the different age levels there. We did not have a team qualify for Globals this year, but we're really proud of the amount of work the coaches and kids put into that program. There's a lot going on. The big one is May 17th. On May 17th, which is a Friday, we're having our second annual Genius Hour Community Expo. And that is open to all of the public, parents and people that are just interested in coming in and seeing what's going on in schools. And we have every student working on a passion project that they've been researching, and they're going to be presenting on May 17th, Friday, from 9 to 10:40. And so we're opening that up to public, and we're hoping that we get a really good response. We had a great response last year. We're really happy. We're trying to make improvements as we're growing with it. And I want to thank all the kids working hard and the advisors that are keeping them busy.
We're testing, as Tom said, heavy into it with our day off last week that put this week into a little bit of a tailspin. But the kids are doing a really great job, and so we're proud of them for that. Things coming up that we have is we have our beginning band informational night is next Monday night at the intermediate school gym with our current 5th grade band performing for the first time, so that will be fun. We have our 3rd graders going to the medical. The Amery Regional Medical Center hosts their health fair at St. Joe's Church, and so they will be going there. And we have a group of select fifth graders that have been working with Kathy Vinson, and they're going to the Math Masters program up at CISA. It's a competition. And then the band, fifth grade band, will be attending the band festival at Unity at the end of the month on April 30th. Just a few things.
Okay, we have Sven Sungard coming to Amery, Wisconsin again. He was here in the intermediate school last year. We have somewhat of an in for Sven. If you don't know who Sven is, he's a meteorologist for Care 11, and he is the nephew of one of our favorite Jolly Johnsons, Patty Johnson, who is now an employee at the elementary school. So we're very excited. He's going to share his monarch butterfly knowledge with our second grade children. So that's pretty exciting. We have registration going on right now for the various programs at Leon Elementary School. Those forms were due today, and so we will start making class lists and using the lottery to choose for our Montessori program and our project-based program. 4K orientation is scheduled for Thursday, May 16th, and I'll probably pound that into everybody's head because we are trying to get everybody to register. At this point in time, we have 75 students registered. Last year at this time, we had 78, so very close in numbers. However, we're projecting about 15 less children than last year, but we are hopeful that that they will continue to come in. We had a couple new ones today that we had no record of, so it's good to continue to get the word out. Our orientation is very fun, and there are a lot of people and supports in place for our families to visit during orientation, and I will talk more about that in May, just to remind people that it is Thursday, May 16th. Our first grade music concert is tomorrow evening. It's rescheduled from last Thursday when we had our spring snow. And the theme of that concert is colors. So that'll be exciting. Thank you.
In the world of pupil services, just want to highlight a couple of things professional development-wise. One opportunity was the WISE Data Conference back in March 20th and 21st. Anytime that our staff gets an opportunity to participate in professional development, I like to just let you know what's happening. And with that, a team along with some technology members attended that conference, attended some professional activity development on entry and exit codes, transfers in, transfers out. A lot of the work that you've heard me highlight before around the communication around open enrollment, student counts, all those things is a pretty complex data keeping system. And so it's great whenever staff can go and get updates, changes. That stuff never seems to stay the same, and there's a lot of troubleshooting that goes on behind the scenes. So I know that staff are always appreciative to attend opportunities for training like that, and it makes the business that the Amery School District does that's often not seen go a lot more smoothly. So thank them for all that work that they do. And then, as Tom said, and everyone here on the board here, it's testing DLM, a lot of accommodations and modifications happening for those students with disabilities and IEPs, so the communication has been strong, and it's been great to see everybody working with a common goal towards just maintaining that accountability and setting high expectations for learning in kids, and hopefully seeing that bear out in the measurements that we see for state assessments. Then finally, another kind of behind the scenes thing that happens through not just the pupil services team, but teachers, other staff here in the district is Medicaid billing. The exciting world of reimbursing and for services billed that are medical in nature. So that could be speech language, it could be nursing, it could be occupational therapy or physical therapy. There's a process for that as well. We have a software management system that we contract staff track those billable hours. They enter it into the system, and in the end, we submit it through a third-party billing system and do get reimbursed for some of those services that are delivered. And so that's just a constant wheelhouse that's happening, not just in the pupil services world, but again, teachers and related service providers as well. So just want to highlight that work that's happening. And finally, grade level transition planning, staffing, scheduling, all those things are just kind of humming along. And as we get closer to seeing what the enrollments, as Cheryl hinted at, kind of doing our projections, that will ultimately bear out in the best that we can do in terms of putting teachers in the spots that they need to be in, our paraeducators, to serve kids in the very best way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are the informational items. The first one is the legislative update.
Okay, I have a couple. Oh, we missed Stacy.
Trish.
Don't want to miss Stacy.
Oh.
Okay, Stacy, you're up. Good thing.
I'll move this over so you guys can see her.
We have packets.
What? All right, so once a year I come and I update you guys on school nutrition. Let's see if I can figure out the clicker. All right, so first I'm going to just start with department updates. I have implemented new nutritional software, which we've never had here at the district. So we now have an online menu. And then on that online menu, people are able to view the nutrients for all of the menued items, and they can also view allergens. So I'm really excited about that because people with special diets need to see that information, and now it's available for them. Other updates, I've really been trying to get more education through our program. So we have implemented bulletin boards at 3 of the schools. We're still working on the high school bulletin board. We need to kind of make sure we fit the demographic of the information.
What are you saying? That we need help with our bulletin boards?
No, I need more help making them.
So do we.
So we have examples of those. And then the heart I put on there, we celebrated National School Lunch Week, and the theme was Lots to Love About School Lunch. One of my ladies decided to take it upon herself to use the extra hearts that we had to see what the kids loved. And one of the things that they said was that they like our lunch so much because we mix it up once in a while. I was like, oh, great, once in a while, okay. Another one was because the lunch ladies are so nice and I like how it tastes, and I love the food here because you try your best and you work hard. So those are some of the fun ones. So with the theme of changing it up once in a while, we've been trying to do more taste tests. I kind of started that over the summer when I had my student interns. We did a fish taco with homemade peach salsa, so that's what's in the picture there. The kids liked it. So I know I've added a couple more things after our big review. I feel like I have a better understanding and I'm more confident. So we've been doing some more menu items that are new too. So just kind of playing around and making sure that we're catering to what the kids like. Because I can plan all the things, but if they don't like it, what's the point? And then to just some more menu board signage, which we just made for here, just to kind of see what it did, and that's the picture on the bottom left. That's just kind of teaching the kids more what they need to make a meal instead of us saying, you need to go back and get more fruit or whatever the situation for getting the components that are required in their meal every day. Big projects that have happened. The Lean Elementary, their dish room was maybe almost as old as the building. I'm not 100% sure. However, we were able to update that over the summer with our food service budget. We updated, so the picture on the far left is the original. You can see that there's just a small little round sink, so we decided to update that while we were doing it. So they now have a bigger rectangle sink, which my Lisa Christian is very thankful. It makes her job a lot easier. And then we also added a hand washing sink in there, which helps put that room up to code. because it was so old, it was kind of grandfathered in, and they were washing their hands in a sanitizing bucket. So now we're happy to say that they have the facilities they need there. Another big project that we were hoping to complete before school started this fall was the high school serving line. I've noticed since my time here that the line is long, and I feel like some of the students, they don't want to stand in line. So we decided to open up and do 2 lines instead of 1 line converging into 2. I feel like it's helped a little bit. However, I feel like there's still room for improvement there through future upgrades of reconfiguration of the line and the kitchen itself. I think that out of all of the kitchens, this one is the least user-friendly in my opinion. But it just really would help in meeting the needs of the students as their tastes are changing. So now I'm going to go over program information, and I just want you to keep in mind that this is more so from the school year of 17-18, just because of the way the fiscal calendar runs, and now you're getting that information. So last school year, our total breakfasts served in the district were 98,968. Our average daily participation of breakfast was 577. And that gave us an overall percentage of participation at 38%. And just so you guys know what some of the language is up here, ADP is the average daily participation. So that's how many people are participating of the eligible category. And then the percent is that divided by the total number of students, just so you guys know where those numbers are coming from. And then for lunch, we served 171,001 meals last school year, which gave us an average daily percentage of 981 and a rate of 64%. I believe the national average of participation is at like 62, if I remember correctly. So we're a little bit higher than average, which is great in my world. Next is the summer food service program. This is just last summer's meals because summer food gets kind of chunked in half because of the July 1st start. And so for breakfast, we serve 7,933 meals. And then lunch, we serve 9,695. And you can see, too, that in June is when we have the most meals served, and that's because of all of the fun summer school events that we have going on. And last year, too, we did move over to the intermediate, and I feel like we didn't have as high of community involvement. We also had an administrative review, which I'm going to go over next. So the administrative review is basically, so our meal programs are ran by the USDA. The USDA tells Wisconsin DPI how to regulate the programs, and then Wisconsin DPI comes to make sure that I'm doing what they say I should be doing. So it happens every 3 years. And their objectives are to determine whether we're meeting our program regulations, to provide technical assistance, secure needed corrective action, assess fiscal action, and when applicable, recover improperly paid funds. So they have a long list of things that they are going to come in and look at. Some of it they do off-site, and the other they come here to see. They observe meal service to make sure that we're claiming our meals correctly, so on and so forth. They found 2 things wrong. One was the application was missing on a free and reduced signature, or a signature was missing on the application for the free and reduced meals. And it was kind of silly because it was like a revised thing and just a silly mistake. And then the next finding was that we didn't have the current non-discrimination statement. So I was pretty happy with that. And then they did have some recommendations when they came into the Buy American provision. They found some produce that wasn't from the USA that I did not have documented. So we have to look at that. Field trip procedures, there just needs to be more consistency on that between the buildings. to ensure our counts are being taken at the time of service type of a situation. And that was the same finding with the Wisconsin school day milk, is that it's not being done at point of sale. The wellness policy, they want better wording to emphasize the communication that is happening with that to the board and to make sure that we are reviewing it and updating it as needed. The food storage, they noted that there were some partial items removed from a case, so it didn't have the proper labeling. And then catering and non-program foods, they just want to make sure that we are charging enough to prevent having to raise the meal prices for the students, is basically what it comes to. And then Fund 50. So my account, this is just the beginning total revenues, total expenditures, and the ending fund balance for the 17-18 school year. It ended up being a profit of $27,679, and that included all programs accounted. The last previous years, we did have a higher revenue, and looking at the numbers, we seem to have spent more on labor and purchase services. I know that we did have a lot of equipment malfunctions last year, which would make up for that. And food expenses went up a little, but was less because our counts were down just a little bit last year, so it coincided together. So next up is the PLE tool. Normally they have this information released, but as of today, I checked too to make sure I had the information right. They have not yet released it. There was an update on March 12th, and the Food and Nutrition Services is working on developing a memo that will encompass what they're expecting this year. It looks like they're going to extend the option to food authorities that had positive balances to request an exemption again to raise prices. So when they send that, we will look into it. Based off of what I did see, our balance was positive, so we would qualify for that exemption if it is offered. And then that and other pricing would have to be discussed at a later board meeting. And that's it.
And PLE stands for?
The, oh my gosh, paid lunch equity.
Okay.
My brain was done.
Sorry.
That's okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Nope.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's it for administrative reports. Now on to informational items, starting with the legislative update.
Okay, I've got a couple of items here. Today was the third of 4 listening sessions for the Joint Finance Committee on budget as it relates to education. It was open to superintendents and board members. That was held in River Falls, so the voices are being heard, so to speak. The second, I'm not really sure how to process this item, but Bill 129 is on the floor right now. And what that bill is for private school choice students is the option, if they are doing virtual education as private school choice students, to opt out of the instructional minutes requirement for the state of Wisconsin. I'm not sure how that relates to public school students, but if this is passed, I'm sure that public school districts will inquire to see how they feel about that. The third, Marquette poll, 74.4%. Marquette's the one that typically is doing the polling in the state of Wisconsin on education topics. A very strong percentage of support, 74% in support of increased funding for special education. The fourth, and this is related to the fifth, there's not a lot of conversation going on by newly elected Governor Tony Evers in the leadership in the state Senate and in the state Assembly, and therefore what we should expect as a budget forecast for our district is a $0 increase for per pupil, which is exactly what we budgeted for. I was told very clearly by a lot of different folks that would know budget 0, and if it's more than that, be happy and rebudget. So be budgeted for 0. So that's my update for now. Anyone have any questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, on to insurance plans and rates.
I love coming to these meetings. It's good energy, good stuff. You guys are doing phenomenal things in the district, and I just love being a part and hearing the announcements. And now we get to talk about insurance, and what an important benefit this is, because really what you're doing, this is part of your benefit package. And when you look at a total reward strategy and taking care of your people, your employees, the district's a very, very valuable asset. This is a really, really important part of the total reward strategy. So we're going to give you an update as to what we've been working on the last 3 months or so, at least, for all of the benefits, all of the insurance benefits for the district. So right now, the district provides employees with a high deductible health plan. The plan has got a $2,700 deductible for single and $5,400 for family. There is a wellness deductible differential, so that's the preferred deductibles, $2,700 for single and $5,400 for family. If they don't participate in the wellness activity, their deductible is $500 higher for single and $1,000 higher for family. The district contribution of the premiums is 88%, and the district is currently in the middle of a 2-year rate agreement with Health Partners, which provided a 9% rate cap for this year. When they ran the renewal for this year, what Health Partners does when you're in a rate cap is you either get the renewal or the cap, whichever is lower. And in this case, the district ended up getting the cap. So the 9% is the renewal that was delivered. We went back to Health Partners and asked if they would consider coming down on that, and without any additional extension of the rate cap from Health Partners, we can't negotiate the number. We can't negotiate the renewal. So what we were able to do is say, if you extend your rate agreement with Health Partners for another year, they would decrease that renewal down to 7% instead of 9%, and then extend another year into your contract, then giving you a 9% rate cap on the 2020 to 2021 plan year. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we discussed options, even before we got the renewal, we discussed options, and that was a direction that the district wanted to go, is to try to keep everything as much the same as possible, and being able to get that extra 2% rate relief resulted in about $55,000 savings to the district. And on top of it, we secured another rate cap for the year 2021. So the recommendation is that the district continue to cover the 88% of the premium and continue with the deductible the same, and the HSA contribution the same as it had been in the past. When we look at the impact, we're looking at the impact from the district and the employee, and from the district's point of view, the premium spend increase from this school year to next school year would be about $170,000. HSA contributions would remain the same, assuming the same employee count. Of course, that isn't necessarily going to, that'll probably shift a little bit. And then the employee impact to the employee, that 7% represents about $74 annually for single coverage and about $163 for family coverage. The health and well-being recommendation, we're not recommending any changes to that right now. Continue with Health Partners. Employees and spouses covered on the health plan would be invited to complete a confidential health assessment program for the preferred deductible for the next plan year, and employees that wouldn't participate would have that higher deductible. Good news on the dental. I feel like I'm on TV. Oh, that's right, I am.
You're a star.
Good news on the dental. The district contribution on that plan is also 88%. You are in the middle of a rate cap with your dental as well. That was a 6% rate cap. But the good news on that is your claims were running so well on the dental that they said flat. So there will be no rate change to the dental plan this year. That's good. The other product lines, the vision, that the vision is offered as a voluntary benefit to the employees, and there is no rate increase to the plan. As a matter of fact, we've been able to lock your rates in on that vision plan until the year 2023. So that's really good news there as well. And no rate change to the disability, the life, the voluntary life, or the critical illness. Any questions?
You didn't introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. My name is Linda Skoglund. I'm with JA Counter. Yeah, goodness gracious.
Thank you, Linda.
So now I really,
Now you're done.
now I'm on.
Now, this is an
Now, there you go.
informational item. You don't need to do anything here this evening. You'll take action on these rates and these plans in the month of May.
Great.
Good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the strategic plan update on student achievement and technology.
Yes, we do. As you know, we have a strategic plan that we are looking at yearly, and this one is student achievement and technology. Our overarching strategic goal, I will read just to keep you in your, keep it up and fresh in your mind. The students at the Amery School District will demonstrate academic success as well as college and career readiness through a continuum of diversified academic opportunities encompassing real-life opportunities and alternative ways to demonstrate success. So this is what we would like to do, K-12. The first measurable objective, we have 3 parts to the plan. And the first one is really looking at kids all the way from pre-K through 12th grade. But at first it talks a little bit more about high school, but then as we get into it, you'll see that it really encompasses all students. But part of the goal was to increase transcripted credit, AP exams, increase our work-based learning programs, STEM programs throughout the district. And I'm just going to do a little bit of highlighting by building. There's just a ton going on, but I just kind of wanted to take each building and do a little bit of highlighting. Makerspace is something you've heard a lot about, and we were able to, in the fall, September of 2018, we have 3 complete makerspaces at Leon Elementary, the intermediate school, and the middle school are all up and running, and the kids love them. Some of the things that we have put into our maker spaces, these are labs, and if you at any time would like to come and see one, they're definitely a lot of fun. But these labs can contain anything from a green screen to motion video stations, guitar and keyboards. We have a collaborative workstations at the middle school that are connected to digital displays that students can hook their computers up to, laser engravers, 3D printers, sewing machines, robotic kits, Connects, and many, many other manipulatives. And actually, it can be something as simple as right now in my makerspace, we have a puzzle that's part of one of the stations, and the kids love sitting down and just putting the puzzle together. So it doesn't have to be high techie. It just is getting kids to use their brain and their hands and sometimes a little old-fashioned things that we haven't done for a long time. Yes?
Excuse me. Can they take, your makerspace things are like building specific, right? But can you change, do you ever interchange them? Like something from the middle school comes to the intermediate school, or?
We haven't.
Or no?
We haven't done that. It's an idea. We're kind of building on making it a little bit more, I don't know how would you say that? Trying to step it up in each building, and so a little more techy maybe as it goes on and into middle school. Like we don't have a 3D printer here, and we had talked about it and said, that's really something we want middle school kids to do. So, I think your point's well taken, but at this point, right now, we just have It doesn't go
age
between.
appropriate kind
Yes.
of things, right? So okay. But if somebody wanted to use like the green screen, would you be able just to take
We
it
all
to the
have
other
those.
building? You all have those. Okay.
Some of the things are in each of the buildings.
Okay.
And some of the value of the space is just, I have, let's say, I know Danielle, I have a class and I need room. And so they're gonna be tearing in and cutting up stuff, and the classroom's too small to do that in, and they can go in, and sometimes it looks kind of like a disaster because there's cardboard boxes piled all over, and they're cutting and manipulating, and then they clean it all up and move on. So it's just a
Yeah.
great place for get down and dirty too, if they need to.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Okay, the next area that we want to move on to are the CTE academies that you know, have heard about at the high school. Very proud of how they have expanded. We have ag, business, family, consumer ed, and technology. Mr. Dörfler has told us that the incentive grant money for the class of 2018 was almost $28,000 for participating in these types of programs. Also, AP exams, we wanted to increase the number of students not only taking the exams, but also passing the exams. In 2017-18, our pass rate was 73%, which is up for the third year in a row, which is great. Also, this year, we added AP psychology to our class schedule. And also transcripted credit, you've heard a lot about that. Amery leads the middle border with transcripted credits. This year we have 33 transcripted credits. The next closest is 29, with most of the districts at 10. So we really do a great job there. Because of the transcripted credit, the tuition savings for last year was almost $66,000, which is wonderful. The second part of our plan is about training teachers in innovative teaching strategies, getting them out and training them in not only just the strategies, but in also other curriculums, and then making sure that we provide training here at school. So if we send teachers away to a day-long training, or in the summer it could even be a week-long training, to make sure that that training comes back and we're training teachers here on what they have learned. Something that's pretty exciting, and of course you as a school board know about, in the 18-19 school year, we have an extensive PDH staff development program that's tied to salary, and we implemented that in August of 2018, and it was a big hit. We're off and running with hopefully growing a lot more in that program.
And if I could step in, or real quick, we're going to bring the PDH model for you to see here in May, and then the alternative compensation package in June. So you'll see how it all plays out here in the next 2 months.
Yes. Just a couple other things, as Mr. Benson talked about earlier. Genius Hour at the middle school is booming, and they're coming up with their next presentation. Montessori, as you know, is expanding to third grade next year, and also the intermediate school is investigating the possible expansion, or bringing the possible expansion into fourth grade. And to continue its research. Then our third goal as a part of the student achievement is technology. And the school district will expand and upgrade resources and access to technology for all students and staff. This will be accomplished through an annual review of curriculum and instructional technology needs, as well as reflective of best educational practices. And so this year, our biggest addition was that the district purchased one-to-one laptops for all students in third through fifth grade. iPads were leased for elementary students, one-to-one, and the Mosley Mobile Device Manager was also purchased to help with the deployment of the apps for all the iPads. So that's how the strategic plan has grown this year to reflect student achievement and technology. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Clint Wallen with the safety and security phases.
Okay, I'm going to assist Clint. I'm going to walk through this particular slide, and then Clint has got a few more slides beyond that so you can see what actually occurred. This slide stems all the way back to July of 2018. In July of 2018, you as a board had conversation about the phases that you see there on the board now and how you're going to, organize that in priority fashion, and second, how you're going to finance that. So in July, you talked about what are you going to do, and in August, you talked about how you're going to do it financially. And what you decided to do is to take out a $355,000 short-term borrowed loan. When you did that, you had no idea that the incentive grant was on the horizon. It hadn't even been introduced yet. So in August and in September, with the help of Mr. Gould, we went through and applied for not one, but two incentive grants, and a grand sum total of $164,205 was received by the School District of Amery. So the phases in order from first through third are cameras, Raptor, which is the entrance, the screener that you go through once you enter in any of the four buildings. And then in addition to that, the wiring for phase two. And the reason we did wiring for phase two in phase one is because we were already in there. To go in again would have increased the cost dramatically. That's how you arrived at $355,000, $280 for cameras, $75 for the wiring. So that's why you chose $355. The second phase, which would be this coming school year, clocks, which are digital and display, and new PA systems. The PA systems in these buildings are original to the building. And yes, that means original to the building, which means they're very old. They're still doing chimes at the elementary school. If you want to hear that, you can go over there. It's still happening. The PA system at the high school, for instance, is so old you cannot hear whatsoever. If you're standing in the middle of the commons, you couldn't hear a thing, even if I was screaming it out. So it's very old and it's not very clear. And lastly, the door access controls. So those are the three phases. So what you would need to know from this is not only the three phases, but how you agree that you were going to finance them. So the school safety grant is going to be used in $164,205 to pay for that $355. That's what you decided to do back in August. So I'm going to turn it over to Clint from this point forward.
And I'm going to give you an update, status update on the cameras, on this camera project. And the old surveillance system's 14 plus years old, and it consists of 61 total cameras throughout the district, and it's an analog system, which is very poor resolution. And we have 14 days available for playback. And when the system was running, we were currently had a few doors and not a few hallways. Their coverage wasn't that great around the district. And with the new system, we went to 139 cameras with 226 images, went to high definition resolution, 30 days of playback, so we can archive 30 days of activity. We're covering all doors, all hallways, and all parking lots. Right, will be completely covered. Then there's a mobile server, so you can get on your cell phones. People who have access can view the cameras off their cell phones off-site. And then we were able to set up the security where certain people can get certain cameras. An example would be like childcare. We can set it up where childcare gets 4 cameras in them rooms, and that's all they can see at the time. And Mr. Gould just loves the mobile. He sits in the commons with his cell phone watching all exits, see them kids skipping out. He just loves it.
We're going to try and help him set some goals.
Currently, we have 3 cameras left to install, and then there's one that failed. It didn't fail. It was running for a while, but it died. So we had to send that camera back and an RMA, and once they get that camera back, then they'll finish the last 3. And there's one at the high school, one at the intermediate school, and one at the elementary that need to be installed yet. Other than that, you look around. I'll show you the maps coming up here. The next one is example of the resolution, and I did talk to Mr. Super, and he was fine with this picture.
Yeah.
I wanted to get somebody in the picture, and I was doing it early in the morning, so I took some snaps of them. But yeah, you can't even pick it out right here. You can tell somebody's on a sweeper there, but obviously the resolution is amazing. And then here's one of the middle school, and I mean, there's actually somebody sitting right there. I mean, you can obviously see her there, so whoever it is. See, it's quite an upgrade. And I'm just going to show you the maps. There's a lot of dots on here. But the elementary school, there was 12 cameras in the beginning. Now there's 33 with 60 images. And how we get to that 60 images is these cameras right here in the corners, or even there's one in the building there. They're 4-headed cameras. So there's actually 4 heads on that camera. And each camera on our servers, you have to license it. So that's only one license for 4 cameras, which was a good deal. So yeah, there's cameras everywhere. And then the intermediate school, the numbers got taken off of that one. There was 14 old cameras at the intermediate school. Now there's 28 cameras with 40 images. So once again, you got them in the corners of the building, and it covers all exits and playgrounds. And here's the middle school, and that's 12 cameras in the old system, 28 in the new, and 43 images. And the high school is peppered. They're everywhere at the high school. This is the one that's not in right now. We're still, we had to hook up the fiber and ground's frozen, so we're having some issues getting through the ice on that one. And then the bus garage. So we can see out to Broadway, we can see the access road. Tom can see anything, activity going on back here, and watch the gas pumps. So it's access everywhere. And before there was only 2, just right here, covered that way and covered this way. So now we get the whole area. Any questions?
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks. The last informational item is the enrollment report.
Enrollment report, you've seen this slide before. This demonstrates depicts what our enrollment history has been since 2008, 2009. We were a declining enrollment district up to 14-15. We've been on the uptick some over the last 4 years, and our high water mark this year was 1554 of the last 5 years. It's not 1736. Up is always better than down. So that's where we're at. If you look at the next slide, you'll see the third Friday count in September at 1556, and the second Friday count in January is at 1548. There's a lot of math that goes into how this plays into school finance, but just rest assured, the more students you have, the greater the aid that you receive. So that's the enrollment report for the School District of Amery. And that's it.
All right, thank you. All right, now we're moving on to the action items. The first one, the 2019 spring election results.
Okay, what you see on the screen with my assistance from Becky, we took all of our phone calls on the evening of, the 2nd of April, and we tallied up the results and posted them real time. It worked out very well to be able to do that. And you'll see there each of the townships, the clerk that reported the results, each of the candidates, and at the bottom from left to right, you'll see the total number of votes. The first and second place finishers by total value, the 3-year term, and the third person in is a 1-year term. So congratulations to Chelsea and Dale for finishing in the top 2, and then Aaron was third. So all 3 of our incumbent board members are back on for another 1 or 3-year term. So congratulations to those board members. And now your lucky part is you got to do your oath of office. So one at a time, you're up. You read it, and we'll sign it, and we'll notarize it.
All right, I, Chelsea Whitley, who have been duly elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Amery, Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
I, Dale Johnson, who have been duly elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Amery, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
I, Erin Hosking, who have been duly elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Amery, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Okay. Congratulations once again. Are we going to notarize them now or later?
Did you see me sign? All right.
We'll trust that it was actually you that signed. Okay.
It's on camera, too.
It is.
All right, next is the donation from River Valley Charities by
Okay.
Stacy Nelson.
Stacy's going to help with that. It was very much a surprise. You're up. We received a donation from River Valley Charities, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Stacy.
So I got an awesome phone call from River Valley Charities, and they wanted to give us a donation for our backpack program. So for those of you that don't know, we offer a backpack program in coordination with the Salvation Army through Polk County. And essentially what that is sending backpacks home, or bags with meals for the weekend, because hunger is an issue. So River Valley Charities is based out of Hudson, I believe, and they've just kind of grown and have been spreading out their goodwill to surrounding schools, and it is just for backpack programs. So we are very thankful, and they do have a fundraising event every summer, which helps them with their cause, and it is on August 19th, and it's a golf tournament at Troyburn in Hudson, I believe. So we thank them. And then, too, it's kind of fun to know they donated over $50,000 to local backpack programs. So that's a great cause, yeah.
So what we do with that $22.50, the Salvation Army is the group that typically runs the backpack program. We keep that check here, the $22.50, and we work with Salvation Army as to how to supplement what they are already doing. We were thinking about adding some new product to what the backpacks have in them. So we have to decide as a district how to do that. So it's a wonderful thing that they've donated.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to River Valley Charities for that awesome donation.
Okay, next action item is the Washington, D.C., New York trip.
Please note on the screen before Mr. Gould begins, remember we have a rotation for school trips. You approved the trip to France. This is done in the same time frame as the French trip, just a different time of year. French trip goes in spring. This is a summer trip in 2020. And again, there's no more than 2 trips in any given year, and we did that so parents wouldn't have to make the difficult choice between 4 trips. There's always just 2 or less. You're up, Mr. Gould.
All right, so this will be the 4th year that we've taken this history-associated trip, 4th time. I've been fortunate to do it every time, so it's been a great experience. Brian Melberg's gone with the last couple of years. One really unique thing that I like about this trip, it's always just been Washington, D.C., and this year we're taking the best of Washington, D.C., condensing that from 5 days down to 3, and then we're going to New York City for 2.5 other days. And I mean, all of the sites that we would want to see in Washington, D.C. Yes, you guys can come with, I know. We're running a special before May 1st for any school board members or anybody who attended the meeting tonight that would like to attend. Yeah, let me tell you, it's a great deal. But no, so we really did condense the best of Washington, D.C. into 3 days, and then a travel day via bus to New York City. And the kids get to take in a Broadway play, see all the major sites of New York City as well, fly into D.C., fly out of New York, back to home. 5 days, we tell the kids and their families, this is not a vacation, this is a trip. You can sleep when you get home, but you're going to experience as much wonderful stop as possible over 5 days. And it is just a first-rate trip. We've had great success with this company. There's zero complaints on my end. So,
How many do you know how many you plan to go?
Right now, we have 6 that have actually signed up for the trip. We have probably another 7 or 8 that I think are going to sign up. My guess would be we'll end up probably at about 14 to 16 kids, along with Mr. Melberg and myself. So,
Is there a max number of kids?
We probably, at 18, we would have to bring one more chaperone with. So if we got to 18, that would be really exciting. And of course, we've had 20 different staff members, of course, volunteer their services if we got to that point.
Don't blame them.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So do you fly to DC and then to New York? You take the Amtrak? Or
We have a tour bus that we're with the entire time. We have the same bus driver the entire trip. So just after we're done in Washington, D.C. on day 3, they'll just drive us up and hopefully avoid the rush hour traffic. They say it can take anywhere from 8 hours to 4 hours from Washington, D.C. to New York, depending on the time you travel.
So Mr. Gould is looking for approval to take this trip in the summer of 2020.
I would make a motion we approve the Washington, D.C., New York trip.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
The trip is approved. Thank you. The next item is the band instrumental use agreement.
All right, so we presented on this 2 years ago, I believe, but we are just re-presenting and hoping to get approval. Currently, we do not have a rental agreement for any instruments that we give to home families, or an agreement saying that these instruments belong to the school and need to be taken care of. Right now, we kind of just give instruments and hope they come back. So what we're hoping to do is start with the new incoming 5th grade. So the current 4th graders coming into 5th grade, starting a rental agreement that would be for about 3 kids per grade. Anyone who uses a French horn, a baritone, or a tuba. We give them most of the time one for at school to use and one that they take home to practice, simply because they're too big to haul back and forth and they're too expensive to ask a parent to buy these instruments. If you rent a flute or trumpet, it is affordable. To rent or buy a tuba is asking for double or triple from those families. So that's why we do that. So we're asking for a yearly cost of $50 to help pay for some of those cleanings. A cleaning can cost $50 to $200, and we're cleaning 2 instruments per student. And then help clean it and help maintain it so that we have quality instruments being sorted through. When we were in the process of this 2 years ago, talked to our music rep from Schmidt Music and said, is this something other schools are doing, or is this kind of unrealistic? And he said, I go to 20 school districts, 19 of them do this. You're the only school not doing this. And we chose a much more affordable payment of $50. I know some schools are asking for a couple hundred, and they have to pay for the cleaning fees. We're just asking $50 for...
Just help offset the upkeep costs.
Right, for about 3 students a grade.
Yeah, and if, assuming the kids, built into the agreement is if the student causes damage to the instrument, then they would help pay for the repair. Excuse me, we'll be providing care sheets of here's what you need to do to take care of it. If it requires oil, we'll give them oil. Here's how you oil it. Here's when you oil it. All that stuff. But it's a pretty standard form that districts use.
So you said starting in 5th grade, are kids playing the tuba and the French horn?
We switch them into the tuba and French horn shortly into their 5th grade career. So no one starts on it, but they'll move into it in October or August.
Okay, so a lot of times they've already purchased or are leasing an
Or are
instrument.
leasing, yeah.
Right.
So if a student is coming in saying, I'm interested in tuba, I will urge them, or don't buy saxophone. Wait, because we're going to move you over. We have had a few students transfer or move in and immediately start playing baritone. We have a student this year who started on baritone. That was a little bit of a different situation just because the family has a long history in the band program, and there are some other factors with that family involved as well.
Do you also want to mention that you did the inventory and had the instruments looked at and?
Yes. I was getting instruments cleaned and was getting told over and over by repair stores, an instrument's like a car. If you get the oil changed and you maintain it, it probably will last you 30 years. You've got some vintage cars here in Amery. You've done your best to clean them and maintain them. And Kim Johns, my predecessor, had a degree in instrument maintenance, and she sure did her best to hold some things together. But we've had a few instruments this year that are 80 plus years, and they have broken, they have snapped. We've got an instrument from 1906 at the high school.
We didn't track the serial numbers, so we're not sure.
Yeah, so we have went through every single instrument that our school owns, and we've come in with Schmidt Music, and we've looked at every one, and we've done a very detailed inventory of the pictures of the instrument, the condition it's in, the serial number, the year, and we've put it into a database where we can easily track when we've cleaned them, who has them, if a student has it at their house, where is it at right now, and kind of made a plan of, where are we looking at for years of replacing our instruments, and where are they at now, what needs to be replaced soon, what's unplayable right now, and what'll probably last another 15 or 20 years, and then we'll talk about replacing them. Right now we didn't really have anything in place for that, so we're just trying to be proactive and knowledgeable about the equipment we have, and also I think this is a good step to let's make sure we're maintaining it and making sure parents know, hey, this is property of School District of Amery, and we need to take care of that as well. So,
part of that tracking is, in addition to the large instruments that the rental agreement is for, if Brock's clarinet needed to be repaired, then we have some clarinets on hand to give him. So while his instrument is getting fixed, he has something to still keep playing on.
Mm-hmm.
And so this will allow us to track, we have this clarinet, it's at so-and-so's house right now. Then when it comes back, obviously, we say that they don't have it anymore.
Or students who we've really tried to bring in a lot of donated instruments, clean them up, repair them, and give them to kids who maybe can't afford an instrument in band. We really encourage any kid to be a part of our program, and we will help you get an instrument and be a part of this. So
we've had at least 6 over each year for the last 3 years that have said, I want to do band, but I cannot afford it. And so we've used donations to help get them into the band.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Are there any other questions?
So would this be for those kids or not necessarily? Then you're talking about donations? I don't know.
No, this would only be for right now.
The large ticket instruments,
yeah.
Tubas, baritones, French horns.
Now, if there's somebody who is destined to play tuba and they can't afford this $50 fee, we'll obviously make this work and be on a need-to-need basis. But right now, we don't even have anything for giving a $3,000 instrument to a kid at home. Hope you do well with it. We don't have anything right now.
And that's the cheapest of those listed.
Yeah, so we really need something to say, hey, this is Amery's property. Here's a care card of how to take care of it. If anything happens to it, you will be responsible. And here's, if you can just give us a $50 rental fee to help pay for when we clean it in a few years and whatnot.
Sure, it's no different than our computers that we have insurance and
Correct.
$50 left. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
So they still have to sign it even if they don't pay it? Or if there's, even if they're unable to pay it and you're willing to waive the fee, they still have to sign this?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the cost to rent alto sax?
So an estimated trial purchase of an alto saxophone is about $510 a year. So if there's students who are renting an alto saxophone, those parents are paying $510 a year. So I think asking for $50 is quite reasonable. And those instruments are even more expensive than the ones we're giving. So it's I think a good starting point. Like I said, many other school districts are asking for hundreds of dollars. You know what, let's start with 50, and that anything is helpful to help maintain. We don't have anything in place right now. So
I make a motion that we approve the band instrument use agreement.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, your band instrument use agreement is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have to have a motion for this? It's an action item for this donation, though. We have to move to accept it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we do.
We have in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to
I'll
move
make a
back to
motion
that
to
item.
accept the donation from River Valley Charities to our backpack program.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All right, the donation is accepted.
You're willing to take free money?
Thanks for
Yeah.
that point of order, yeah.
Are you giving some more?
Formality.
We have officially accepted.
Next is the, Mr. Wallen again with technology purchases.
Well, tonight I'm looking for your approval to move forward with a battery backups replacement refresh project. If you're unsure what a battery backup is, they're called UPSs, and they're uninterruptible power supplies that we put in our wiring closets and data centers to keep the systems running if there's a power outage. And with this project, I'm looking at getting bigger UPSs that'll run 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the load. So if we have a power outage, the wireless access points, the servers, the switches, the cameras, the phones, everything will be running for at least 30 minutes, if not 60, during a power outage. And staff will know a lot of times when the power goes out, half the building's down, they can't communicate. With these backups, we can actually communicate for up to 30 minutes, if not 60. With the project, we're expecting 70% of the cost of the project be covered by E-rate. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what E-rate is, but it's a federal government program that's based on your free and reduced counts you have in your district. And we're at about 39%, so that puts us in the 70% category that they give us so much money a year for projects. And it's got to be related to, there's a category 1, which is internet and telephone. The telephone's being phased out, so now it's just internet. And the last couple of years, they started one called the category 2. Category 2 will cover infrastructure costs, like switches and battery backups and some software, and not computers, unfortunately. But so we're expecting 70% that the project be covered by that, and then 30% of the project be covered by TEACH infrastructure grant, which is from the state of Wisconsin. The E-rate application, in order to qualify for the E-rate, there's got to be a 470 filed, which is a RFP through the federal government, and that RFP goes throughout the nation to any vendor that is in the E-rate program. They can bid on the equipment. We asked for 14 UPSs in the bid, and we had 5 responses. One response was some vendor trying to solicitate us, so I didn't bother with him. But then we had 4 other responses. And when you purchase through the E-rate program, you have to have a scoring on it. And you can see on the table below there, we scored on the highest scoring you could do. It's got to be on price. And then we did it by prior work experience, which is, has this vendor worked with us before? And then if the vendor's an in-state vendor, that is 10 points. And then prior experience with the manufacturer, that would be the product, and if we've used it in our district before. So that comes up to a total points. Well, if you look up above, these are the prices that came in with the quotes, and Heartland Business Systems came in at the highest points. And then Connecting Point was next. But Heartland Business Systems was $3,000 cheaper, just under $3,000. So I'm asking for the approval to go with Heartland Business Systems on these battery backups, and this will have little, if any, financial impact to the district to do this. And our UPSs currently, I'm sure a lot of staff have heard the beepings in the closets because they all need battery replacements right now too. So it's time.
Why is PDS so cheap?
Because they put a really, well, Cyber Powers, I did the reviews on it. Everybody says stay away. They're coming in. When we did the RFP, we asked for American Power Conversion, which is APC, or comparable. Well, they're getting the cheapest thing they can and they're throwing it out there and hopefully we bite on it. And there's very bad reviews on that.
So it's just a get what you pay for kind of a thing.
I think it's worse than that, but yeah.
So you've had work experience with Heartland and Connecting Point?
And CDW. Yeah.
Okay.
But the grading scale, grading scale has been submitted with the feds right now on our E-rate. So we have to go with Heartland for the scale.
Okay. Well, I move we move ahead with the Heartland bid.
Second that.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
All right, the bid for Heartland is approved. School calendar weather days.
I'm back.
What we've all been waiting for.
Yes. Well, when we left last, we had used 6 weather days and 2 late starts, which moved after we put some, well, let me back up and say it's 6 weather days, 2 late starts, and that made it so we had to make up 4 days, which we didn't want to do because that would have pushed us to Monday, the 10th of June, which is an issue for 2 reasons. Summer school starts on the 10th of June and also summer school instructional minutes. So we converted the 18th of April, which is this Thursday, from an in-service day to a school day. So now we were back at 3, which put us on Friday, the 7th of June. And we were able to do that by combining that day with adding 5 instructional minutes to every school building beginning on March 4th. So that allowed us to put us back on Friday, the 10th of June by only having 2 days to make up. And then last Thursday happened, and now we're back to Monday, the 10th of June. So what we're here to do is look at 2 options. We can either add 3 school days, which is what we're in the position to have to do, and put us on Monday, the 10th of June, or add 4 more instructional minutes to each of the buildings beginning next Monday, and that would put us just above the threshold of 1,137 minutes, or 1,137 hours, which actually puts us 4.8 minutes over the threshold. That's how close we are. So if we have any more snow days, I'll be back in May. I don't really know what to tell you, so it's up to you how you want to proceed. My recommendation would be to add 4 minutes and finish on the 7th of June.
I would make a motion to add 4 minutes of instruction.
Yep.
Second.
An all call is going out tomorrow on that, so everyone knows. Not that it greatly affects everyone's world, but just so everyone's aware, and it starts on Monday. Thank you, I think.
Well, all in favor to adding 4 more minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Next is student insurance.
All right, Student Insurance Services, not to be confused with student insurance, but that's the name of the company, came back this last week with a renewal quote. There'd be no change in any of our rates. If you notice, the rate per pupil hasn't changed the last couple of years. That's because our claims are very low. We don't have very many claims for that. One of the main reasons is the understanding that we try to convey to the parents of the students who may be injured that it does go through their insurance first before it goes through Student Insurance Services, and usually it takes care of it. But it is a nice backup to have for the plan if something would happen. So that's what I'm here for, is just to get approval for a renewal for the student injury insurance. And this does cover athletes and in-school students. I'll make a motion to approve the insurance renewal.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the student insurance can be renewed. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're on to the policy for death of a student or staff person. It says second reading. Is this?
It is the second reading.
Okay.
Last meeting, we had the first reading, and a couple of items that were discussed were highlighted here in the document. You'll see they're highlighted. That's the first of which. The first conversation was about funeral services, visitations, wakes, memorials not being held on school district property. there is a clause there speaking to the conversation that existed last month, unless with the express permission of the district administrator. That's the first item that was amended since last time. And then there was one other, if you scan down, Becky, I think you'll see it, there it is. There was conversation about if students are there grieving in a centrally located place, how do you get them to not do that? Well, what we had talked about is encouraging students to be with school personnel designated to help with their social and emotional needs. So that clause was added as well. So those were the two items that were added since we talked about this last month.
I like the changes that were made. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I would like to ask about, things like including a student on, I think this last year there was the issue about including a student name on a shirt with everybody's names on it.
That wasn't in regards to, that was in regards to putting a name on a door, not on a shirt.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if, maybe there is something with a shirt, but I don't know about that.
Okay. So when I was looking under the, memorial activity ideas and things to avoid, I was wondering about those kinds of things, I didn't really feel like it fell, or it was specified under either category. I guess I just want to bring that up. If a student passes away and they're part of a class,
If all the names are included, there's no concern about that. But to memorialize a student where it's just a single name, that's not something that school district staff would want to do. That's leaning on the research that we were exposed to when we did our training, that we wouldn't want to memorialize. You increase the percentage of another student death when you do that. So if it's all the names, the senior shirt's coming out here in a couple of weeks, and all the names will be on there.
Well, we can always address it if we need to.
Yeah, this is
It's
a living document, I would
Yep.
guess. This is a case-by-case basis if things happen, and
it's obviously very difficult circumstances when you're dealing with this, but.
It's a policy we hope never to have to use, but we likely will at some point.
This is exactly what we looked at last time with just the two.
With the two
elements.
changes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yeah. Well, I'll take and make a motion to accept this policy as, with the changes in red that were done as a policy for death of a student or staff member.
second that.
Is there any discussion regarding this policy? Further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Right, the death of a student or staff member policy is approved. Now we're on to the certified staff handbook review.
Okay. Last Wednesday evening, Dale and Shar joined me and representatives of the certified staff and also members of the support staff. And that was led, that's an offshoot of the strategic plan. Cheryl Meyer and Jess Smith were both part of both of those groups. And what you see here this evening is the first of 2 rounds of potential revisions to the staff handbook. This is an item that we want to revisit consistently. This is a living, breathing document. And there was outdated language here, some dates that were incorrect. So you're going to see some of that, and then you're going to see some other changes in relation to pay and other contractual language that relates to handbook. So this is the certified staff handbook. There's 2 items for each employee group, a staff handbook and then the compensation and benefits, and then the same is true of the support staff. So there's 2 changes there on that page. Anything that you see as a change is noted in gray. So if you move down, those 2 changes are staff member change names. And if you follow along on the screen, you'll see those items as they appear, and I'll walk through those with you. The activity passes to athletic events. It was noted rather than just to have 1 adult guest, to change it to 1 guest. Athletic Director Josh Gould and I had conversation about that, and it made no difference to him. One guest was fine, so that was a change. And if you want to chime in at any moment, certainly feel free to do so. And Shar and Dale, you were there for that conversation as well. So that would be a change. The copyrighted material, this is sort of outdated language and unclear language. That last sentence there, the copyright guidelines sentence, I struck through that. I'm not sure if Dale and Shar wanted to chime in on that. I'm not sure that anyone in the room in either group really fully understood what that meant, to be honest with you.
It's a little weird.
I think we felt pretty comfortable.
So in the first sentence, we felt handled much of what needed to be handled there. The first two sentences, actually. Oh, Seaboard policy on cell phone use. We have adopted a policy in district for cell phone use. So what in essence we'll do is to cite what that policy number is and put that there as a cross-reference. The next item there, under DPI certification and licensure, it states the Human Resources Office. I know I've only been here for 4 months. I have looked hard and long for the Human Resources Office, and I have not found one. So we're just going to call it the district office. Unless there's something I'm unaware of, we're just going to go with district office.
So then there should be a line.
A line right through that,
Okay, 'cause
because
it's-
we don't know what that is.
Okay.
I was wondering.
Okay. The language in extracurricular assignments, the language that's been stricken here, really we felt was unclear and probably not the fairest direction to go with staff. So what we have noted, the last sentence that's not stricken from the record, if you will, employment vacancies will be sent to staff via email as notification. And where this came from was if there's a summer posting, that staff wouldn't necessarily be made aware of it because they're not here. If they check their email, they would be. And there were some things done in years past where things were just, positions were just filled and no one had any idea that they were filled. So this way, we would be able to let everybody know, here are the jobs as they exist, and please apply or encourage others to apply. And this makes it clear that we need to let everyone know. So we'll let everyone know.
Would that be only about summer jobs?
That would be any job. We always send out emails. We sent an email out probably within the last week on vacancies that exist in the district. We send those out rather frequently. The further into the year, closer to the year we get, the more groveling and begging that we send in our email. Please.
And it's pretty standard operation. When I worked for the government, federal government, it didn't matter if a job was posted that you weren't even qualified for, or if it was in Hawaii. Although that would be a nice job to move to.
It would.
You got job notifications probably 10 times a day of openings, and so it's kind of in alignment with a federal government, state government entity. So it's.
We'll always send it out. Graduate credit pre-approval, not that we don't want folks to do graduate credits, but the reason that this has been struck out is we have a PDH process, and all of this language is now a part of that document. So what you're going to see here next month is really a third document for certified staff, a PDH document, because that's an entity, a product all onto itself. So that's why that is not going to be there any longer. It's all in the PDH process.
So will that be listed under a different heading?
It will all be under PDH and probably a whole separate handbook in and of itself,
Yeah.
like the compensation
Oh, yeah.
and benefits. Job vacancies, again, same language. We want all notifications to be sent out. This says the same thing as before. Outside employment, again, I think we were pretty unclear as to what this meant. Periods of work are such that certain evenings, days, vacation periods, that sentence, we felt the first sentence would be sufficient, that district facilities, equipment, materials will not be used in performing outside work. So we just took that sentence out. The PDU, we are eventually not going to have PDU. It will be PDH. We're moving that direction as we speak. So that will not be there. We don't have long-distance phone codes any longer. That's old language, so we crossed that off, so we don't need that anymore. We're almost to the end of this document. that might actually be the last item. That is the last item. I'm not sure how you want to take these one at a time. There are, in essence, 4, since there's 2 items for each, however you want to do that.
I think we can
I-
just take a motion
I
to
was
make all the changes as a whole, instead of individually.
Did we, are we good on the compensation? I mean,
Nope,
I think we
that
need to
one's-
kinda
that one's
I know
next.
we haven't talked about it tonight, but are we
Nope.
ready to vote on that?
The next one, you can see that the recommended changes that are there. Again, there'll be a second round of revisions
Okay.
likely in May.
Right.
And some of those financial components aren't here yet, and in full disclosure as to why we have to cost them out in order to know whether to do them.
Yeah.
And
We
we
just
didn't
met.
have a chance between the 10th and the 15th to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think I would just make a motion to approve the changes to the 2019-2020 Certified Staff Handbook as opposed tonight. Proposed.
As proposed.
Proposed.
I'll
Yeah.
second
Not
that.
opposed.
Now, remember, there's a compensation and benefits item that comes in. There's some changes in there as well. Not
Just,
And that's
So if we
just
did
language.
4.
just wording, right?
Just language.
in the next document, there are some changes that you need to see.
Are these two,
before.
are these documents together or are they separate?
Listed on the agenda as one.
Okay, well then-
And then the support staff is listed as another.
But
So you
this-
could do 4
so
motions or 2 motions.
The
either way.
certified staff compensation and benefits is just I want to tackle this as a different document as
Okay.
this. So that's what I'm
Okay.
asking. So
You
I'm
can
just
if you'd like.
asking, I'm just making the motion for
Certainly.
The handbook.
the handbook,
Certainly.
for language.
Okay.
That's what the motion is, for clarification.
And I'll second that, just for the certified staff handbook, which we just reviewed.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the proposed changes for the certified staff handbook are approved.
Okay. The support staff handbook, you'll see up on the screen here. The support staff handbook changes. There are a couple of name changes there on the first page. And then if you scan down, you'll see some of those changes. Oop.
Copyrighted material.
I thought nope, you didn't. You're good. Sorry. That first was the copyrighted material item again. I'm not really sure what that exactly means.
Actually, if you go up a little bit, cell phone use
Oh, you
is
missed
on
one?
there. Nope, down.
I
It's
saw
right
that.
above copyrighted material.
Oh, okay.
Cell phone use, did you want to strike that and put the policy
I
number?
would think we would want to do just
Yes.
that.
Okay.
So the copyrighted material, that item is the same as the other handbook. And if you move down, the in-service workshop and training, the addendum to the language that you see there is employees shall be scheduled to work the first day and a day of in-service plus a half day of the second day of in-service. And the change to that is paraprofessionals would work 2 days. And the logic behind that is typically the teacher that they're working with are in meetings the whole time, so they really don't even need to get to see them. So if they're there 2 days, there's a much better chance for a collaborative effort. So that's where that change came from. If you move down a little further, the orientation, this is a repeat of what you just heard. For them, well, actually, it's not. New staff members should meet with district office personnel as soon as possible to complete materials, and then all incoming staff shall participate in orientation conducted by immediate supervisor. All staff should be provided with a mentor, so we're looking at all staff to have a mentor, no matter position. The outside employment clause is the same as what you saw in the certified staff handbook. We just narrowed it down to that one sentence that you see there does not have a line through it. Telephone use, we don't have telephone long-distance codes anymore, so that's outdated language. In time clocks, that's also outdated language, so we got that out of there too.
So,
Go ahead.
did we talk, I thought last week we talked about the overtime, which was just under the outside employment one.
Okay.
I thought it was maybe highlighted a little different red.
Well, I did any of the financial pieces.
Okay.
I didn't bring, other than a couple, which are
So
noted
this
in
would-
those other documents. It's not. It's
Yeah.
we didn't do anything here yet.
Okay. Got it.
So we did those two items. And work schedules, employees shall be scheduled the first day and a half, and then in paraprofessionals, it was the 2 days, so it's similar language as to what I just read to you. And that's the end of that document. That's the support staff handbook document changes.
Again, to be consistent, under activity passes to athletic events on page 5, they also, it does say still one adult guest.
Okay.
I mean, just to be consistent. it probably would
Absolutely.
be good to change that to just guest.
Good catch.
As for tobacco on school grounds, for actually both of them, I just remember a couple, was it last year or the year before, given all the
E-cigarettes.
latest tobacco products there are nowadays, we revised the policy to expand and make the definition of tobacco a little bit more vague. I don't know if we need to really change this, but it might be good to reference our policy next. I see some of these clauses have references to state statutes and stuff, so we could
We
either,
certainly
we could
can.
reference the Wisconsin statute that defines tobacco or a policy or something like that, just to
It
make
does
things more,
reference our-
well, I don't know what SDA is. Is that-
We'll look and see what.
Oh.
Isn't it? That is
I
our
don't know.
policy, 831.
I don't know. If you
Well,
got the number,
maybe
nice,
yes.
good work. I don't know the number. We'll look and see what that is, and if it
Or
matches,
the
then we'll be
statute,
sufficient.
yeah.
And if it's not 831, we'll find what it is.
I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what that meant.
Yep. That's the
Okay.
acronyms
Wow,
again.
I know. There's no key.
And I think those are all the changes for support staff handbook.
I would make a motion we approve the support staff handbook as presented
And modified.
and modified.
Second. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the proposed changes and additions to the support staff handbook are approved.
So do we need
Okay.
to look at now the certified staff compensation and benefits as far as the wording changes that were suggested?
Now, there are certified staff compensation benefits, and there are support staff compensation benefits. If you want to hear those now, you can, or you can hear them in May. My recommendation, if you want to do all of the financial pieces in one, you can. There isn't any drawback in doing so, because none of these would become active, if at all, until July 1. So there's still time if you want to wait on that.
I'd move to table the compensation and benefits discussion until May.
Okay.
Second.
And we'll have the financial impact then.
Yes, we will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all
Aye.
right. Anyone opposed? All right, this will be, this compensation and benefits will be tabled until next month.
We should
All right,
be-
now we're on to personnel.
I'm sorry, Chelsea, can I just speak to that for 1
Oh.
minute? The reason, which should have come under discussion, I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
speak
okay,
up.
we'll back up.
The reason that I would make the motion to do that, in case anybody is wondering, for anybody who's not here, is this meeting really just did take place last week, and I don't think that we have the proper financial impact to the district yet to make any decisions on it tonight. To be presented is probably not worth the time tonight to go through that until we can make a better informed decision next month. So not that we're delaying this, not that we're putting this off, it's just a discussion that needs to be done in a context where we have all the impact. So that was the only reason that I wanted to table that.
Yep.
Okay, sorry Chelsea,
Nope,
thank you.
that's okay. Thanks for the clarification, and now we'll move on to personnel. Okay, we reviewed the new employees and the resignations and the retirement in closed session earlier today, but we did not make a motion to approve. So is there a motion to approve these?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, the contracts, resignations, and retirement are approved.
And if I could speak to retiree Trudy Helene, we've got 39 years in food service, 13 years as a cook at the elementary, 26 at the middle, all in Amery. 19 summers as summer custodial. Her best memory is serving lunch to her 3 children and 4 of her 6 grandchildren who attended the Amery schools, the last of which, Mitchell, graduates this year. Also, working with and becoming friends with some of the most wonderful women throughout the years. Looking forward to being able to keep up with the weeds in my 2 vegetable gardens and my flower gardens, being able to go camping, walleye fishing with my husband more, spending more time with family, especially my 95-year-old mother, and having my morning coffee out on my deck. And doesn't that sound good?
Well, I love that her retirement also includes a lot of food issues, so that's awesome. A lot more food work, and what a testament, and what a great level of gratitude of service to be working in our kitchens for that many years and to serve all of those little mouths to feed that maybe some days that's the only thing that they get. So thank you so much.
170,001.
Yeah.
And one. Chelsea, I just have one announcement that I didn't do earlier, and that is just a reminder that on May 4th, the Amery, the IPO at the intermediate school, that's our parent organization, have the Harlem Wizards are coming to town. It should be really fun, and we just want to make sure that we get that announcement out there that tickets are available, and please put it on your calendar to come out and have some fun that night, May 4th.
Yes, we have all of our principals that are supporting us that night.
Are they all
with
playing?
The event. So
Cheryl
playing or
or-
cheerleading.
Cheerleading.
I'll come cheer you on.
Oh, we're going to need more than that.
But it's got a.
My wife asked me the other day, she said, I'm not sure if you should play. I'm like, why? Because we're going to lose. She said, no, because I think you're probably going to get hurt. Thanks. Great.
Well, it's all right. You know, we got health insurance coming up to renew for you.
I
You're
guess.
all right.
Accident insurance is covering on that one.
And I see signs all over town too, so great job at promoting
Yeah.
it.
And Mr. Boyd, since you're here, we do appreciate the years that you put in here and all your work with the band program. So we appreciate that, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Yeah. Sad to see you leave. Thanks.
And Dr.
Okay.
Dirtfler, your first official meeting here.
Yes.
Where is your black bag?
My black bag?
Yeah, the one that
Dr.
always
bag.
said,
No.
if you're a doctor, you
For
need to have a
doctor.
black bag.
I didn't know. No one sent me the memo.
No, you'd have it filled with tricks for sure.
Yeah.
So I make a
Welcome
motion-
aboard.
Okay, well, yeah, before you make the motion,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
take
sorry.
a motion to move into closed session, so we, for considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility in order to take personnel action pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, or conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Roll call, Aaron?
Yes.
Char?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Yes.
Keith? Yes.